Hello there. Nice to have you with me today. Thanks for joining me, and the topic today is a very good one for us to listen to. It's a good program, but unfortunately it's a sad story that we're going to unfold today. We speak of a social ill of our society. We speak of a social problem in our society. I'm drawing from my book, Doctor Teach Me to Parent. And again, I would recommend that you pick up this book and use it. It's a manual for you as a parent to look at and to use and to refer to as you go through the parenting process with the children in your particular family. Now today, I would like to talk about a very major problem, and that's fatherlessness. Fatherlessness. Let's put this in perspective, okay? Here's a quote referring to history. Family is everything. Civilization is built on it, and nations die without it. You see, the family is the core, is the basis, it's the root, it's the foundation stone of every society throughout history. When the family is strong, that society is strong. When that family goes weak and becomes imperiled and becomes indistinct, so to speak, then that society changes and becomes weak as well. So our nation across the world, our nations across the world, depend upon this issue of the family being strong. Now, unfortunately, in America, we have 20 million children who do not have a father. Can you think of that? 20 million children do not have a father in America. It isn't that they see the father once in a while. They just don't have a father. He's gone. He's absent, from their home. He's absent from their life. He's abandoned them. And for whatever reason, he's gone. And we have these children now raising themselves, basically, and maybe being raised by a third party to do the very best that they can. But this is the critical issue of our community, the critical issue of our homes, today. Let's take a look at some of the statistics of that, and I'm referring you to a image that's on the screen of a tree. And I'd like you to look at that tree in the sense, look at the roots of that. See, that's the children, that's the 20 million children who are fatherless. In the year 1960, there were only 10% of the children in those roots. 10% of our children, only 10% of them. Today, 25% of our children are in those roots. That's the roots of fatherlessness. Those are the kids that are down in that subterranean part of our society and our family life without a father. Now, where are they living? Where are they living? Well, obviously, some are with a mother, and the mother's doing the very best she can as a single parent. Some do very well. Some don't do very well at all, unfortunately, you see. Some are living with grandparents. Grandparents raise millions of these kids are raised by grandparents, you see. Some are in group homes. Some are in foster homes. Many are in jail. They're in youth jails, juvenile halls, and California Youth Authority, and various places, living in an institutional setting of that nature. And obviously some are on the street. Many are on the street, unfortunately. So when you look at those roots, that's telling you where these kids are. The 20 million of them in these different subterranean areas of our society and of our culture and of our family life. But then I refer you to that tree in the sense of saying, okay, what are the problems with these kids? And we can look at that tree and we can look at all the various kinds of problems that these kids experience in life and go through primarily because of fatherlessness. Now, kids get into trouble for a lot of different reasons. It isn't only because they don't have a father. There are other reasons that kids get in, but the large portion of these kids that get into trouble of various kinds are the fatherless children of our society. They're fatherless because the parents are divorced. They're fatherless because the parents are separated. They're fatherless because one parent has died. They're fatherless because the parents never married. They had a child and then went their separate ways. They're fatherless because many of the fathers are in prison. And they're fatherless because many of the fathers have abandoned these kids. And they're in seeking of a way to live a life being abandoned. But there's one more reason. There's one more reason why these kids are fatherless. And we call that parent alienation syndrome. That's when one parent works and does everything possible to keep the other parent out of the life of their children, out of the life of the child, out of the life of the children in the home. Change the name, move away, put barriers, deny visitations, don't show up for visitations, don't cooperate, don't communicate, put down the father, diminish the father. Many, many, many mothers engage in parent alienation of the father from the home or from the life of their children. And that's the most dangerous. That's child abuse. That's one of the most hurtful and most dangerous and most destructive ways that a father is kept out of the life of his child or his children. Now, fathers can engage in parent alienation syndrome as well. We know that in this case. But often it's the mother that does not want the father involved in the life of the children. Now, there may be some reasons, and sometimes there are reasons, and then you set up conditions, you set up some structures, you set up some protections, but you don't keep the father away from the child. When you alienate the child, you are creating a monster in your children. You're creating the social problems that we're going to take a look at, today. Now, let's just take a look at some of the data on this, fatherlessness, okay? U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, 2013, came up with this, that 45% of the children raised in a fatherless home live in poverty. Live in poverty. And that 90% of these children that run away from home and run to the streets are fatherless children. You see, homelessness is an issue, and poverty is an issue. These kids live in poverty. And when you live in poverty, you don't have the advantages that a community and that a society has available, for the children of that society or community. You just don't have access, to that. So you don't get the benefits and the advantages of a community and all the resources that are available in that community. You live a life of poverty. 45% of these kids live a life of poverty if they're fatherless, okay? Now, take a look at their school problems. Their school data shows this, that 72% of these kids drop out of high school. But they struggle reading, they struggle with math, they struggle with their thinking skills, they're truant, they drop out of high school before 16, 72% of them. Okay? And they don't advance. They don't develop the potential that they have academically in their learning capabilities. These kids are failures in the school. They create the problems in the school. They create the social problems in the school, the behavioral problems in the school. But most of all, they live a school life of academic failure, and academic frustration, and academic disheartened. They just are disheartened because of the way that they do not have support, they don't have the encouragement from the home, and they are grieving the loss of a father. These kids grieve, and it shows up in these kind of ways. When you grieve, you can't pay attention. When you grieve, you're distorted in your thinking, you're distorted in your attention. Your motivation is down, and you can't learn. You don't learn, you say. So it's a deep, deep grieving that these kids have when they have an absence of a father in their home. Now, prison. What about prison experiences? These kids are filling our prisons today, the juvenile halls and the adult prisons. These are the kids that end up in our prison system. 85% of the population in prison are fatherless. 85%. That's huge. Just think what it'd be if we had fathers in the home and the fathers stepped up to the plate and fathers became involved in the life of their children. Rapists, 60% of them are fatherless. You see, the behavior problems that bring you into a prison environment largely relates to fatherlessness. And these are the kids that just don't have a father to guide them and to put some structures in their life, put some boundaries in their life, and put some morals in their life and some values in their life. And they live a life of just impulsivity. They live a life of just sensual activity. They do what they want. They do what feels good, makes them feel good. And they end up in a kind of a problem kind of situation, incarcerated. 20 times more likely to be incarcerated if you are fatherless as compared to if you come from a home of a mother and a father. And you're about 10 times more likely to engage in violent behavior if you're fatherless. So fatherlessness is a deep, deep problem in our culture and deep, deep problem in the life of children. And they just don't make it in life very well. And they will rely upon all the structures that will be called upon, such as prison, to help raise them. Okay, moving on. The American Journal of the Academic Society of Child and Adolescent Psychology and Psychiatry found this about mood disorders, you see. Mood disorders, these are the kids that show up in our psychiatric hospitals. These are the kids that have to go in and out of a hospital for 3, 4, 5 days, 7 days a week, 2 weeks, and have to be given a more intensive form of therapy before they can be released, go back home, and often will return to a hospital 2 or 3 times in the course of their getting their act together, getting their life together. 85% more likely to end up in a psychiatric hospital if you're fatherless. These are the kids that not only end up in prison, but they also end up in one of the psychiatric hospitals of a society, of a community. And it's often in that progression. They go to a hospital, they go back again, they go back again, and other times they may end up in an alcohol treatment program, a drug treatment program, and before you know it, they're ending up in the prison system. And now they're living out their life in the context of a prison. It's progressive, if you will. So that's kind of where these kids end up. Very, very likely to be within our structures of support of a society. Hospitals, drug treatment programs, prisons. And that's sad that these kids have to go through that experience. Why? Because dear old dad does not show up at the doorstep. Dear old dad does not live behind the door. He lives out somewhere else and has ignored these kids and let these kids just go off on their own. Pregnancy is another issue. The Journal of American Issues showed this, that these kids are the ones who are likely to end up being pregnant in high school, and then obviously drop out of high school, or more likely to drop out of high school. 71% of teenage pregnancies is with children who do not have a father in the home. In other words, the structures are not there. Mother can't keep all the structures necessarily. And maybe they're not even with a mother. Who knows who they're living with? But at least they do not have a father in their home guiding them in their behavior patterns and their behavioral choices. These are the kids who end up being raped. These are the kids who end up being sexually abused. Large percentage of these kids are sexual objects to somebody else, and they end up becoming pregnant. And now we have a child trying to be a mother to a child. And it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. Now, she may do the best she can, but a 16-year-old girl is not capable of being a mother, is not capable of being a nurturing mother, not capable of being an educating mother, not capable of being a supportive and nurturing mother. She's got too many interests of her own, too many needs of her own, too many problems of her own, and because she's fatherless as well. So that child now is at risk and living a life without a father. So it's perpetual, if you will. 63% of the teenagers who are fatherless are likely to suicide. 63% of teen suicides, fatherless. Now, that doesn't count how many of these kids try to commit suicide but don't succeed. That's a large number of them as well. But these are the suicide kids. These are the ones that, successfully commit suicide. And they're fatherless. They're hopeless. They're grieving kids. You have to kind of understand that this is a child that's grieving the loss of a father. They may have grandparents. They may have a mother. They may have aunts and uncles. But they don't have a father. And kids grieve the absence of a father. And when you grieve, you're in depression. And when you grieve, you have anxiety and fear. And you live with that sense of uncertainty and unsureness in your life. And you look about trying to find that in somebody else. You try to find that in some other situation. Try to find somebody who might give you a little sense of importance or value, might pay a little attention to you. And that's why young girls seek the attention of boys, because the boy is a substitute for the father that she does not have. In particular, these girls that look to an older boy, because he is a representation of the father that she does not have. But he can't play the role. He can't do the job. It's a false start, right from the beginning. 68% of these kids are in human trafficking. Human trafficking. That's prostitution. That's these kids that are bought off and taken to San Francisco or to Chicago or to Detroit or to some major city and are sold as a prostitute on the street. That's human trafficking. And I've treated some of these kids, and I've seen them in my office. That's sad stories. No father in their life. It hasn't been a father in their life. And the guys that take them on and do the human trafficking kind of become their substitute father, their surrogate father, if you will. Sad story. Sad story of these kids that end up in human trafficking. And then take a look at drug use. Just take a look at drug use. That's a huge problem in our society. But drug use is rooted in fatherlessness. This is where fatherlessness really shows itself. So when you have this drug use problem, 70% likelihood, 70% of the kids who are into drugs are fatherless. 70% of them. So you have a major issue in the area of drugs. We try to do all this stuff of trying to get people not to take drugs and get them off drugs and send them to treatment programs for drug abuse. We should send them to treatment programs for fatherlessness. That's what they need. They need to build in a term for a father. They need to build in an image for a father. They need to build in a substitute for a father. It isn't just drug abuse that they need treatment about. Sure, they're addicted. Sure, they are. But they're more addicted to the absence of a father and what that means to them emotionally. Kids today are fatherless, and that's the kind of treatment that they need. How to get a father back into their life. How to get their father to come into their life. How to get their mother to welcome the father into their life. And how they can live again as a family, or certainly as an integrated family, even though they may live apart from each other. And the treatment today needs to be on fatherlessness, not on drug addiction. We have the emphasis on the wrong syllable. We have the emphasis, if we can just somehow get them off drugs, we think they're going to be okay. If we think we can just moderate their drug use, they think they're going to be okay, they're going to make it. This is not the case. The root problem is fatherlessness, not drug addiction. Drug addiction is a manifestation, is an example of what comes with being fatherless. Same with all these kind of problems that we've just referred to. Going to prison and living a life of violence, living a life of drug addiction, living a life that's just not compatible to success and achievement, poor school failure, and all the rest. We need these kids in a treatment program for fatherlessness and how to connect with a father, how to connect with their father. And if that's not possible, how to create a healthy relationship with father images and father substitutes and allowing other people to play the role of a father in their life. That's where the emphasis needs to be placed. And if you're out there and you are a fatherless child, you've got a major problem to deal with. And you need to give the attention not to all the problems that you have, but to the root problem of being fatherless. If your children are fatherless, you do whatever you can to bring a father into their life. And if you have to put some structures and some guidance on it, that's fine. But let that father be part of their life. And if you're out there and you are doing parent alienation, you're excluding the father from the child's life. You're creating a day-to-day child abuse act. Don't do it. Stop that. Allow that father as much freedom as that father is able to give to a particular child. Maximize the benefit that can come to a child through the life and the skills and the training and the values and the morals of a father. Let the father prevail in the life of children. Do whatever we can. Your grandparents, help the father become part of the child's life. Welcome him into your home so that he can be at least there to be with his children some of the time. Let them connect with their own father in any way, possible. There's a study being done now across the country about bringing fathers into the prisons of children and letting fathers visit their children in jail. And likewise, letting children visit their fathers in jail and setting up these family days so that the kids can be connected with their father even though the father may be in jail or the child may be in jail. So prisons are looking at this issue of bringing together the kids and the fathers in these visitation kind of programs. And that's hopeful. So here's my point. It's fatherlessness. It's not drug abuse. It's fatherlessness. It's not school failure. It's fatherlessness. It's not teen pregnancy. And so on. It's fatherlessness. Get down into the root where fatherlessness takes place and solve that problem. Now you do your part. You do it in your home. You solve the problem in your home. And we'll all work together in that regard. Hey, good to have you with me today on our first segment on fatherlessness. Make sure that you get the book, Doctor Teach Me to Parent. And in there I have a topic on fatherlessness. No kid needs a phantom father. No kid needs a phantom father. So the book may be very helpful to you. So get yourself a cup of coffee. We're going to come back in just a little bit for a second topic on children who are depressed. We have a large number of kids in our society, in our homes, in our community, who are depressed. We're going to look at depressed children when we come back together. Okay, see you in a bit.
Green Gables Care Home is a 24-hour assisted living facility for the elderly, located in Clovis, California, offering spacious private and semi-private rooms which are wheelchair-approved, catering to the special person in your life who needs attention and wants to live in a loving home environment. The Green Gables Care Home has assisted living and secured homes for elderly persons with Alzheimer's, memory loss, and for your loved ones needing assistance with their activities of daily living. Call 559-307-0950 and visit GreenGablesCareHome.com.
Sometimes good intentions hurt rather than help. For just $1.76 per meal, the Fresno Rescue Mission offers more than food. We offer hope. Please donate today.
When you need a dentist who has a passion for superior aesthetics and comfort, you need Dr. Christopher Wong with Cedar North Dental. Call 559-432-4948 or visit cedarnorthdental.com.
Do you need a locksmith? Layman's Lock and Safe Service and Repair is available for you. 559-228-1805.
Choosing a Medicare plan can be difficult and frustrating. Susan Hatch can guide you through the Medicare maze and help find the right plan for you. Susan helps people understand the confusing and drastic changes that occur every year in Medicare. Susan will only recommend plans that will protect your assets and allow you to continue to see your personal doctor. As a 100% independent agent, Susan is not controlled by any particular insurance company to steer a person onto any one particular plan. Susan was awarded the #1 Medicare supplement agent in California. Look for Susan's Medicare question and answers every Monday in the Fresno Bee. Call Susan at 559-307-2287 and visit MedicareToday.net.
Gained a lot, learned a lot, and got a lot of love. If it weren't for the knowledge that I had gained from the classes at PCC, I probably wouldn't be the mom I am today. See, there it goes.
love you to me, my son Aaron. My situation was very difficult. I didn't know how my life was going to turn out.
We graduated in June 2010 and we got married in July. And through family, the Pregnancy Care Center changed our lives.
The Pregnancy Care Center was a huge, vital part in helping me walk through that pregnancy, in educating me and loving on me during that time.
Fresno Rescue Mission's Rescue the Children program is a protected, secure environment providing emergency and long-term services to women at risk, abused, homeless, previously incarcerated, and women with children. The community provides women and their children a place to get away from destructive lifestyles, offering a place to heal, learn, and grow. Give to the Fresno Rescue Mission today.
Satellite television transforming the Middle East through hope in Jesus Christ. Sat7USA.org.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
All right, thanks for coming back and joining me for the second part of today's session. We've talked about fatherlessness and the effect of the absence of a father in the life of children. You know, kids who are fatherless are depressed, but there are a lot of other children who are depressed for a lot of other reasons. Depression usually comes because you have that feeling of helplessness. You're in a situation you can't do anything about. You try this, you try that, you try whatever, but you can't solve it. And you get that sense of being defeated. And that's depression, helplessness. But there's also a depression that comes from just the absence of rewarding experiences in your life as a child and as a person, as an adult. When you do things and you aren't rewarded, you aren't recognized, you aren't affirmed, you aren't appreciated, you aren't thanked, there's a sense of depression that comes over you, because you don't get the recognition that you think you deserve, and probably you do deserve, but it's neglected. So there's that absence of reward or absence of reinforcement and absence of praise and approval in your life. And then we are depressed because people depart from our life, some by death, some move away, divorce, just abandonment. See, all that leads to depression. When your life has been involved with somebody and you've had a meaningful experience and meaningful relationships and so on, and then one person leaves that relationship for whatever reason, the remaining person remains depressed. So that sense of absence that brings about depression. Okay, what do you do with children who are depressed? How do you kind of handle children in the sense of their own depression they go through? Again, go to my book, Dr. Teach Me to Parent. I'm taking right from one of my chapters in this book on the topic of depression in children. So if you want a little bit more information on it, the book is a great one. Get a hold of it and use it as a manual, okay? Depressed children. Keep them active. Keep the child active. Activity is a way to release the endorphins in the brain. Now, the endorphins in the brain is a chemical that produces a sense of relaxation, a sense of ease, a reduction of anxiety, if you will. So there's an energy level that comes from activity. And you have to keep a child active. Keep them playing, keep them moving. Sitting and just looking at a television, sitting and looking at an iPad, and looking at some kind of a game on television or gaming on their computer is not a way to get around depression. Depression can be better dealt with through activity. So get your kid to be active. Very important if you're going to do that. Secondly, sleep. Depressed children need to sleep. There is a sense of tiredness that goes along with depression, and they need sleep. Now, most kids need about 8 hours of sleep, 9 hours of sleep. Younger children might need 10 hours of sleep. But, a nap is also helpful and maybe sometime needed. Just a brief one in the afternoon, just a brief one, up to an hour. But let that kid have good sleep. Now, not just the hours of sleep, but good sleep. There's restful sleep. Not one a lot of dreaming and a lot of restlessness and so on, but just positive, good sleep. And do what you can to help in the hygiene, sleep hygiene, so that they have a good place to sleep and a quiet place to sleep and a dark place to sleep and a safe place to sleep and so on. Sleeping is a very important part in the life of a depressed child and getting over the depression. You got to have energy that comes from the sleep patterns. Also, you need to engage the child in activities that lead to achievement. You see, it's not just the activity that's important, it's the achievement that's important. Kids need to learn that when they do certain things, they achieve. They can put together a puzzle, they can put together a logo item or image and make something out of it. Color, and they can achieve, and they be praised for that. Because when you do something and you achieve, you get praise. You get approval, you get reinforcement, you get positive comments from other people. But you get that personal sense of achievement. And that's what depressed children need, and often they don't have. They don't have those activities that lead to achievement, so they don't have that sense of achievement in their life. That's what's necessary, and it's very, very important that you help your child do lots of different things and help them achieve. Work on puzzles, work on games, work on some creative project that they might have. Develop a skill, develop a new interest. Learn how to play the guitar, learn how to play the piano, learn how to play a horn, learn how to dance, or whatever it might be. But help them learn something that they can have that sense of achievement. Also, these kids need to learn how to relax. Depressed children don't relax very well. And you need to teach them how to relax, how to deep breathe. Take a deep breath in, hold it momentarily, and then slowly exhale. And do that 4, 5, 6 times. And then do it again. And then do it again throughout the day, periodically. Taking a deep breath in, holding it, and then slowly exhaling and letting your body just relax, letting the muscles relax. You see? That's the muscle relaxation procedure that these kids need, because they're tense kids, they're nervous kids, they're anxious kids, and they need to get that sense of relaxation. And bringing about relaxation through deep breathing is good. Visual imagery, thinking of words that are associated with relaxation, such as the word calm, or the word tranquility, or the word peace, or the word quietness, or stillness, or whatever it might be. Help them get words that they can say to themselves that generate a kind of a sense of relaxation in their mind and in their body. So kids who are depressed need to learn how to relax, and you as a parent can help them learn the struggles of tension and how to undo the tension by relaxation. And you learn it as well. It'd be a good thing for you as a parent as well. Talk to your kids. Make sure you talk to your kids. Have a time that when you talk to your kids. The best time to talk to a child is dinner time, at the dinner table. Not at a television, not before television, not in front of computers, not with one in one room and somebody else in another room. All in one room, sitting at a dining room table, a kitchen table, a bar, some situation, and having family talk time. The very best. The second best is bedtime. And the third best is car time. When you travel with your kid, you can talk. So those are the 3 times that you can talk to a child. The rest of it is you get it as you're able and you can. But make sure you take advantage of table time, you take advantage of bedtime, and you take advantage of car time. Those are times that when you can talk to your kids and get a sense of what's going on in their life. Get a sense of what they did today and how they felt today and what they experienced today. Help them understand what you went through today and what you experienced. It's a give and take kind of conversation that takes place. But showing interest in the life of the child, showing interest in the experiences of a child, of what they experienced just today. Just today. So take those moments and capitalize on them for your own talk time, with your kid. And then make sure that you have opportunity to reward your kids. Praise them, approve them, affirm them for every little thing they do. Taking out the garbage, helping you set the table, helping you clean the table, helping you vacuum, helping you mop, helping you pick up. I mean, whenever they do something that is a good behavior, an appropriate behavior, praise it. Catch your kids being good. Catch your kids doing good. And then praise them for that. Commend them for that. Reward them for that. There was one research study. It was very interestingly done. And what they found is that we all have a formula that we live by. We will accept a criticism if we have 5 praises, if we have 5 compliments that precede that criticism. For some of us, it's 7-1, but the average is somewhere around 5-1. Kids need 5 praises and approvals statements and commendation statements for every criticism. Now, you as a parent, kind of look at that. Do you over-criticize? Do you give 5 criticism to every praise? You got the whole wagon backwards. You see? No. It's 5 praises. It's 5 commendations. It's 5 approval statements. It's 5 rewards. It's 5 high fives to every criticism that you give a child, or every corrective statement that you give a child. In other words, get the balance proper. And I think it'd be safer if you use the formula of 7-1. I think it would be better for kids if you use the formula of 7-1. In other words, bombard them with praise and approval and reward and affirmation. And don't bombard them with criticism. Criticism has its place. Corrective statements have a place. Being part of a child's corrective system and discipline system is important for a parent. But you won't get very far if you haven't laid the base. And the base is praise and approval and commendation statements that have preceded. So make sure you do that, all right? Now, you also want to make sure that you have a good diet for your kids. Now, diet isn't necessarily important. I mean, it is when it comes to weight and weight control and management of that. But what's important is that you make sure your child has the fruits and vegetables necessary for life. Make sure that they get 2 servings of fruit. You get 2 servings of vegetables or 3 servings a day. Make sure that that kid is bombarded, not just with praise and approval, but with fruits and vegetables, so that that kid will have a healthy diet. Now, that builds the body, that builds the brain, that builds the system of thought and thinking and problem solving and learning. So make sure that that brain is strengthened, and that kid needs fruit, and that kid needs vegetables. And make sure that you are the one that provides that. Now, that's what diet is all about. Making sure that there is a healthy diet in front of that kid every single day. Now, also, make sure your child has a healthy way to deal with strong emotions. Strong emotions would be anger. Strong emotions are depression. Okay? Strong emotions are anxiety. And if your child has these kind of strong emotions, then it's your responsibility as a parent to help that child learn how to manage those strong emotions. Learning how to be assertive and talk about them. Learning how to be assertive and admit that they have these feelings and want to change and talk about ways in which that can change. Talk to you as a father. Talk to you as a mother. Talk to you as a counselor. Talk to you as a teacher, or whoever it might be. These kids need somebody to talk to when they have strong emotions. You teach them how to talk. You teach them how to be assertive, not how to avoid and how to be passive and how to keep within yourself and to withdraw and to isolate. Depressed kids tend to isolate and withdraw. That's the tendency. And what you need to do is help them overcome that by becoming a talker, becoming more a communicator, becoming more an assertive person, so they can speak out and be part of a communication system. And that will help them solve and resolve some of the strong emotions they have otherwise. Strong emotions must be met with assertive communication skills, forthright discussion. And you as a parent are the one to bring that about and to facilitate that and encourage that, and then commend and praise and approve a child for speaking out when they need to, when they have these kind of strong emotions. Now, just as there needs to be a listening time, a talking time with your child, there needs to be a listening time with your child. There needs to be a time when you just put your book aside, you just get a cup of coffee, sit on the table, and just listen to your child. You may want to prompt some discussion, but then just listen. Don't argue, don't debate, don't discuss, don't give alternatives unless you're asked, but just listen. Kids need parents who listen. That's the role of a mother. That's the role of a father. That's the role of a grandparent. That's the role of an aunt. That's the role of a cousin, or whatever it might be. Kids don't have people who listen to them. They need that. And they need you to be a listening parent. And when you are a listening parent, then the kids will learn how to talk. But why talk if nobody listens? You see? So when the kids talk, does anybody listen? And you make sure as a parent, as in your family life, things stop when your kid talks, so that there's a listening ear. That's what's needed. These kids often don't have a listening ear, so they don't talk. Why would they talk if nobody listens? So make sure that your child has an experience of talk time because you're listening, to them. And then lastly, make sure that your friends, or your children, have good, healthy friends. See, it's not important that your child just have friends, although that's important in a way. But what's important is that your child have a healthy friend. And you need to monitor the friendships of your kids, no matter how old your kids are. There's a time when you need to step in as a parent and say, that's not a healthy kid. You cannot have a relationship with that kid. That relationship has to stop. And you got to take action, to do that. There are times when you want to encourage relationships because there is somebody that's a healthy potential friend for your child. So your children need to have healthy friendships, not just friendships. And how do you know? You only know that when you allow your children to bring their friends into your home. And then you're going to have opportunity to observe and watch as to whether they have healthy friends or not, competent friends or not, good friends or not, healthy friends, friends with the same value system, same moral system that you have within your own home. You need a friend for your child that encourages academic advancement, academic achievement. You need a friend for your child that encourages good, positive living, healthy living, living by values, living by positive morals. You see, that's the kind of friendships that you want your child to have. And you won't know that if you don't know who the kids are that your kids hang out with. So get them over to your house, give them a view, assess them, determine whether that's a child that you can encourage a relationship with or not encourage a relationship with. And sometimes you just have to put your foot down and say, no, that's not a healthy kid, and you cannot have a relationship with them. And you spell out why. And then monitor what happens to that kid over the next year. And you'll know that you were right. Follow your instincts. Follow your intuition, you see, when it comes to the healthiness of the kids that your children or your child hangs around. Okay? So, depressed kids, yes, we have them. Depressed kids, yes, they can resolve that depression. You can get beyond that depression. You can overcome that depression. But as a family, you have to do it. As a family, you have to get involved. And you might have to consult a professional counselor. Go to a psychologist in your community and have a few talks together. Maybe have 3 sessions, 5 sessions, and just get that kind of started so that you as a family can then build on that and make sure that everybody succeeds and excels and lives a life that's healthy and positive and firm and achievement-oriented. Well, anyway, good to have you with me today. Get some more coffee. We're going to go to section number 3. We're going to talk about children that are impulsive. Can't wait. Have to have everything real quick, right now. The kind of the hurried child, we call that. So come on back in just a few minutes and we'll pick that up. Thanks for being with me in section 2.
This program is brought to you in part by Avante Health. Sound mental health is an important foundation to productive living. Happy employees are productive employees. Employers have the option to carve out the mental health component of their general medical plan to Avante, a fully insured specialty health plan focusing on mental health, substance abuse, and employee assistance programs. Avante offers full service benefit management, from eligibility determinations to in-house claims processing. Avante can handle all aspects of your benefit management needs. Avante Health provides EAP mental health services to the employees and families of local and national companies, businesses, and governmental agencies. For more information, call Avante Health 800-498-9055. 800-498-9055. Visit AvanteHealth.com. Dr. Alan Hedberg is proud to have Avante Health as a sponsor of this program.
Opportunity isn't always given a door to knock on, so we built one. The door to our kids' futures is often crowded by temptation and misdirection, making it difficult for them to reach their full potential. But once they enter that door, our club door, inside is a place of hope and opportunity. The second home for the nearly 4 million kids we serve every year after school and in the summer. Inside our doors, youth development professionals and mentors provide the guidance, support, and encouragement needed for every kid and teen in an enriching and safe environment, no matter their circumstances. Boys and Girls Club set the standard as the #1 advocate for youth during the out-of-school time. We assure success is within reach for all kids and teens in America, with club members on track to graduate from high school with a plan for the future, demonstrating good character, and living a healthy lifestyle. We're leading America's youth, fostering success well beyond the basketball court through hundreds of programs, from robotics to the culinary arts, providing unlimited opportunities for those seeking. This hope and opportunity builds character, creates leaders, and helps all kids define their future. Ensuring young people find their passions, reach for their dreams, and achieve their full potential. Much can be found inside our 4,000 doors nationwide and on military installations around the world. Boys and Girls Clubs is the opportunity for all kids, and our doors are open. Great futures start here.
CentralValleyTalk.com.
All right, thanks for coming back and joining me for the third and final part of our program today. We started out today with the problem of fatherlessness in America. 20 million kids living without a father. We looked at the problems associated with those kids. Then we moved on into the issue of the children in our homes that are depressed, children in our classrooms that are depressed, and how we can be of benefit and help to these kids and overcome their depression so they can excel and succeed and achieve in life. And now what I want to do is, just in our last little segment here, look at children that are impulsive. We have a lot of kids who just are on a what we call hurry sickness agenda. You know, everything they do is do it now. Everything they want to do is do it in a hurry. Do it in a very quick manner so that they get it done and achieve or get whatever they want. It's called the impulsive child, the hurried child. That kid is more likely to get into trouble because they don't think before they act. They act and don't think, or they act and maybe think later, you see. So they're more likely to get into minor problems in school, in the classroom, in the home, because they just don't give thought to what they're doing and what they're about to do and the consequences or the possible consequences associated with that particular action. You see? So impulsive kids don't think. They don't consider. They just do what is upon them, or what thought comes to them, or what opportunity is presented before them, and they just take it if there is interest or if there's some kind of attraction to a particular item. They eat, and they'll say things, and they'll break things, and they'll overplay, and whatever it might be. Go to my book, Dr. Teach Me to Parent. I'm taking this from one of my chapters, The Impulsive Child. So if you have an impulsive child, the book is a good one for you, because there's a chapter just devoted to this topic of how you can work with your child that's impulsive, all right? Now, impulsive kids need fixed routines. They need to know when dinner is served every night the same time. They need to know bedtime every night the same time. They need to know what time they get up. They need to know what time they leave the home in the morning for school. They need to know what time they return home and what they do between coming home from school and dinner time, and what they do after dinner to the time they go to bed. In other words, fixed schedules, fixed routines, and fixed patterns are very important for the impulsive child. Don't you become impulsive just because your child is impulsive. You become very routine and very fixed and very orderly and organized because you're trying to teach your child to be less impulsive and more organized, less impulsive and more thoughtful, and more definite and determined, and to live according to a pattern of life rather than just whatever happens to come before them at that moment in time. So help them learn how to wait. Help them learn how to plan their day and how they can wait for something to happen, and that they can learn to be quiet and still while they're waiting for something, to happen. Discourage shortcuts. Don't let shortcuts live for the life of a child, or the child live for shortcuts. Shortcuts only encourage more impulsivity. So what you want to do is help your child learn that you take steps. There are 3 steps to accomplish a task, and you do all 3 of those. There are 4 steps to accomplish a task, and you do all 4 of those. You think it out ahead of time. You organize what steps that need to be taken to do a task, such as take out the garbage, or to help with the dishes, or to set the table. And you do it in an orderly, planned, systematic manner. And that will help that impulsive child bring some control into their life. Now make sure that when your impulsive child shows some control and shows some slowness and shows some thoughtfulness about what they're doing, then commend them, praise them for that, approve them for that. Make sure that you give a lot of praise and a lot of approval, okay? What I do with these impulsive kids in my office when I teach them how to think of an animal that's less impulsive. Think of an animal that is slow and deliberate and moves about in a very calm and slow way. A turtle, a tortoise, if you will. And if they can think of themselves in that context, that would be helpful. And then you can praise them, you can approve them for slow movement in the same way that a turtle moves about slowly, eats slowly, and swims slowly, and so on. So a child can become more like a turtle, and then when that happens, you can praise and you can approve and you can affirm the child for developing that kind of slowness in their own life. But now here's something you can do when you teach your child while you go shopping. Take your child with you shopping. A lot of these impulsive kids you don't want to take shopping with you because they're tough to handle in a grocery store. But the purpose of taking them, and maybe going to a smaller store, is to teach them to learn how to reach for something, not grab something. Learn how to reach something and slowly take it from the shelf and put it into a basket. Slowly take it from a shelf and look at it and read it and make sure it's the right item, and then slowly put it into a basket. That's a teaching opportunity. So shopping is an opportunity to teach an impulsive child, a quick child, a hurried child, to do things more slowly and more deliberate. That means it's going to take you longer to shop. That means maybe on a shopping trip, you're only going to get 3 or 4 or 10 items. You're not going to do your whole weekly shopping, because that would take forever. So take your child on a deliberate shopping spree, and even to not necessarily a grocery store, but to a clothing store or to a hardware store or toy store or whatever it might be. And your purpose is to learn how to reach and take something slowly rather than learn how to grab something and just tear it apart and put it in the basket. Quickness is not to be encouraged. Slowness and deliberateness is to be encouraged. And you have to teach patience. You have to give them opportunity to learn how to be patient and to follow you as an example of patience. You have to exemplify it. You got to model it. You have to kind of show what it's like to be patient. You do things slowly. You do things deliberately. You do things in a routine, systematic kind of way. You learn how to behave very deliberately. And then the child will observe you and more likely behave like you. So you can teach a child to become less impulsive by you showing what deliberateness is and patience is in the course of your interactions with that child and interactions with your whole family. You see? And then make sure that you know that there's a difference between a behavior pattern that's compulsive and it has to be done now and now and now, and a behavior that is pre-planned. I'm going to do something later. I'm going to do something after a while. I'm going to do something after dinner. I'm going to do something tomorrow. I'm going to do something tonight before I go to bed. You pre-plan activities and then you do them at the appointed time, as compared to being impulsive or compulsive in the sense you got to do it now. Get that word now out of the vocabulary of your family and get the word pre-plan into your vocabulary as a family. Pre-plan things. Think ahead. It might be 10 minutes. It might be 5 minutes. It might be 5 hours ahead. It might be a day ahead. But teach that concept of pre-planning so that a child can anticipate, look forward to something, and learn how to wait. And then, obviously, you want the difference between what I call visual screening and physical touching. A child can go to a store and just look and just watch and just look. You can go to a toy store, but you don't touch. The rule is no touching. But you look, you observe, you just look at the different things, and you teach that impulsiveness to come under control of an individual. So teaching a child to be thoughtful and to be more controlled and be more inhibited is what you want to do. And you can do that by teaching a child to visually scan items without touching. So the impulsive child is a tough child to raise in a family, but you have to do it deliberately. You have to be deliberate in what you do, and you have to set up the terms for the child in your house so that they can do things on schedule and do things in a routine manner, but do things upon waiting. Learn that waiting is part of life, but it's not a bad thing. Okay, this has been the report today of Dr. Teach Me to Parent using my book, Dr. Teach Me to Parent. Let me just give you a quote to end our session today, and it kind of puts things into perspective of what we've been talking about today, okay? The quote says this: each day in our lives, we make deposits in the memory bank of our children. Each day in our lives, we make deposits in the memory bank of our children. See, you do something every single day that becomes part of your child's memory system. So think it through and make sure you do the right things that you want your children to learn and to remember for the rest of their life. Go to my podcast, thepsychologyreport.buzzsprout.com. It's on every day. It's on the internet. You just go to thepsychologyreport.buzzsprout.com. It's my podcast, and you'll get all kinds of topics. I've been doing it a year now, and all kinds of, about over 200 topics there in the archives that you can learn from. Topics that may be of interest, to you. And then I refer you to my website, booksbyhedberg.com. www.booksbyhedberg.com. That's my website. It's where you can get a hold of this book, and I recommend it for you, and I'll see you next week. Bye for now.
Hey there, world! I'd like to introduce you to someone really special and really cool. This is my mom. My mom is an amazing person. She is a writer. She is a newly transplanted Texan. She is a woman of faith, and she loves 80s music. She also is a person with a very rare genetic muscular disorder called Pompe disease.
Pompe disease is a terminal, progressive illness. It's a genetic enzyme deficiency which ultimately leads to the destruction of your skeletal muscles. Those are the muscles that control how you move, your arms, your legs, and your torso. When your jaw or esophageal muscles are affected, you can no longer eat and require a feeding tube. When your diaphragm is impacted, you can't breathe on your own any longer and require a trach ventilator. When your legs are impacted, you will no longer be able to walk without assistance. You can lose bladder and bowel control. It affects children and adults, and eventually it kills you. It is rare, but it's real.
Now we're lucky. My mom's still able to walk, though she uses a cane to get around most of the time. She's still able to breathe unassisted, but she can't go upstairs, and she needs some kind of assistance to get up from a seated position, like if she's sitting in a chair. She has to examine every activity ahead of time to know if there are things like handicap parking, accessible buildings, and even functional bathrooms. All of her activities depend heavily on the weather. A windy day can be just as dangerous as an icy one. She jokes that you can tell what kind of day she's having by whether she can lift her arms high enough to do her hair. And she recently moved into a one-story house specifically with the idea that she's one day going to need a wheelchair to get around. Those are the kind of things she has as everyday concerns. Her normal everyday fears are things like dropping her keys or falling in public and not being able to get up. That actually happened a couple of years ago. She fell and fractured her pelvis because she was unable to break her fall.
I receive an enzyme replacement therapy every 2 weeks for life. It's a 6-hour IV. It helps slow the progression of the disease, but it is not a cure. And it costs about $100,000 every time you sit in the chair. Insurance takes care of most of that if you're lucky, but not everyone is, and the expenses add up very quickly. Things like wheelchairs, accessible vehicles, special housing, travel costs to medical conferences, doctor's appointments, and clinical trials. Luckily, there is a group that helps families with Pompe handle these costs. The United Pompe Foundation is a group connecting funds with real people who need help. This was founded by a father whose son has Pompe disease, and they could not find the resources that they needed. They assist patients and their families with medical costs and other expenses that they need to survive day to day. Every little bit helps.
There are a lot of things in life that we really take for granted, and sometimes the scariest things in the world are the things that you can't see. So today we're asking for you to help us shed a little light on a rare and scary disease. Please share this video with your friends, your family, strangers, anybody that you come across. Education is a big thing. It makes a big difference. And another way to make a really huge difference in someone's life is to go check out the United Pompe Foundation. Their website is in this video description. Click on it, check it out, and go ahead and donate some money if you're able to. Again, this is an organization giving real help to real people who are amazing and need it, like my mom. I love her, and thank you so much for helping us out. Thank you so much.
CentralValleyTalk.com